Hey guys, welcome back to Ponderings from Palm Coast. I'm Mark Webb, and first and foremost, I want to thank everybody and wish everybody a great holiday that's coming up. A lot of exciting things are happening. Hopefully, you're enjoying time with your family and just stepping back, taking a breath of all the drama and things that are happening, and realize your mental health, your sanity is very important, and take time for yourself. But more importantly, today I have a special guest that I've been trying to get on this podcast ever since it got started. So introduce yourself.
Hi, hello everyone. I am Dr. Yvette Edghill Spano, and I actually represent the Democratic Women's Club at the local level as well as the state level as the legislative chair.
So I'm just going to call you Yvette or Doc
Yvette.
or
No,
whatever you
Yvette.
want, huh?
Yvette's fine.
So Yvette, you are so busy and you have so much exciting things going on. But today, I want you to help us understand a little bit about our elected processes. I know you go to Tallahassee and you're involved and you are actually boots on the ground watching what's happening with our state elected officials. And I got to tell you, I query people all the time. They can't even tell us who our representatives are and what's going on. And I think it's really important because they are desperately trying to get rid of home rule. We're going to talk about that a little bit and affect things that are happening with us. So the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about how you got to Palm Coast.
Okay, well, many moons ago, my father decided to build a house in Palm Coast. And during the vacations that I would take with my kids, we would come down to visit him. I fell in love with the place. I mean, I did. I loved everything it had to offer. And I've lived in a couple of different places, and the one that strikes me the most is Seattle, Washington. A plug for Seattle, yay! But when I came here, the vibe was accepting for me. And I knew that this is where I wanted to retire to eventually. My father for years was trying to say, Yvette, there's a plot over there I want you to buy. But I was like, I don't have the money yet. So eventually we did buy.
Yeah.
And then once that happened, and I'm coming from Maryland, from New Jersey as well as Maryland, and then came down here when my husband and I decided to retire here.
So you mentioned, I've got to pursue this. So what's your attachment to Seattle?
It was my job.
Okay.
Yes, I was able to get a fellowship with the University of Washington State in the laboratory for HIV research that they had there. Yes.
Oh my. Yeah, that was cutting edge stuff.
Oh, it was very much so.
Yeah, the University of Washington has always been.
It has.
So I spent 17 years in Everett working for the Boeing company.
Oh,
and
really?
My wife's family are all from the Northwest. In fact, that's where we're headed back to in the summer. We're got a pull. Family needs us. So we need to go, and it's not a place you want to be right now. It's a little on the wet side. They've had like 29 days of rain straight, so.
That's surprising. Well, not so much because Seattle is like, well, the Washington State area for where I lived was Federal Way as well as Seattle in Ballard by where the locks were.
Oh my.
Across the street. I mean, I can't even begin to explain how wonderful it is to live in a place that offers so much variety. You know, you have the Mount Rainier right there. You have the beaches. I mean, the culture itself was amazing.
Yeah, it's got a lot going for us.
It does. But anyway,
well, no,
back
that,
online.
and then we're in Florida.
Then we're in
Which is
Florida.
a big challenging. So, I know if I understand correctly, the they're not. When is the new session start?
Okay, so the new legislation for 2026 will begin January 13th and will end March 13th. Maybe. If the budget is not approved, then it will go longer. However, we don't have a definite date when it's supposed to end. It will go longer than, who knows, this last session for 2025, because they didn't approve the budget, that didn't happen until 45 days later. So the session lasts 60 days, so add on 45 more days, which is like unbelievable, but yes.
And that's when they added last minute amendments and other things like on SB 180 and other things at the 12th,
Well,
11th hour that.
yes and no. They're always doing that.
Yeah. Now, help me understand. Let's start with first grade level questions.
Okay.
So, if I understand the process from listening to you many times, the House and the Senate have to have matching bills or very similar.
No. Okay.
So, how does that?
So, and I have
Okay,
the little
dive
write-up
in.
here. So, what happens is that they come together and have what are called interim committee meetings first, where the House and the Senate will develop what bills they would like. Then, at some period during those interim meetings, they come together and they match up their bills.
The House and the
And
Senate.
the House and the Senate will come together and match their bills. And so it used to be mandated that every single bill had to have a partner,
Okay.
but a loophole was found. So, because of that loophole, you can have there is a process where you can have a special subcommittee where it doesn't need a partner to move through the process.
And can this committee and these conversations happen before the ringing in of the new session?
Yes,
So that explains what's happening with the conversation with
that you're
redistricting
having-
right now.
Yes. So the interim committee meetings for 2026 began in October, which blew me away because normally it starts in November. Okay, so it normally starts in November. So now they put it in October, and the interim session lasted a little bit longer than what they've done in the past. The challenge now is, I believe that they have already submitted more than close to 400 bills that are going to be reviewed during the session. So the process of the session, when you hear about what's going on in Tallahassee, they're not referring to the committee, the interim committee meetings. They're actually referring to what is being discussed on the floor for not yet voting, but they do vote sometimes, to determine whether this is a viable bill or if it needs to move on through various offices. I'm going to call it an office, but like accountability or
Expert
education,
review
expert reviews
of the bills, yeah.
And they then send it back and say, yes, this you can move forward with. And then what happens is that they being the legislators coming together, and they will discuss the pros and the cons of a bill, and then they will vote.
And unfortunately, for the Democratic side, our margins are so low that do they even invite the Democrats to these earlier closed door sessions? Or do the supermajority Republicans sit and get all this work done without
That is an excellent
biased
question.
conversation?
Excellent question, and that's how they found out about loopholes that they could have. So just to give you a little background for how our House and Senate. We currently have, and it may change, approximately 39 members in the Florida House. And of total of those 39, 28 are Republicans and 11 are Democrats. That's number one. Number two, for the House, you have 120 members altogether. And of that, I remember this, 87 are Republicans and 33 are Democrats. And then you have one that has left from the Democratic side to become a non-affiliated party member, NPA. So that when you have that kind of supermajority, it's pretty challenging to be able to get the bills that the Democrats are moving forward unless they have enough on the Republican side to be able to come together and say, yes, we like this bill. And for the most part, it's challenge. I'm going to say challenging.
Right.
And that's why they need people's support, whether they send an email or they go visit Tallahassee themselves, they go to a local representative's office, and you can say, I don't like this bill, or I love this bill, will you support it when you vote? That's having action that you can do. And you can find your representatives' information on either the House as well as the Senate websites that you can just Google. I could tell you the Senate one is FLSenate.gov, and probably the same for the House. So you can go there and meet and find out who your local representative is, and advocate for whatever your issue is that you want. If it's accessible housing, then you can advocate for that. If it's about HOA fees, advocate for that.
Property taxes.
Yeah. You can advocate for education, what you want happening in the school systems. You can advocate for that as well. So the power is with you, not only with your vote, because that's critical. It's critical to vote, not only with your vote, but with those follow-up actions that you can have. That's not going to take a lot of energy unless you really want to become someone like me that puts it all in.
And thank God we have people like you. And there is opportunities
Absolutely.
to be involved, to
Absolutely.
participate, just to get knowledge and to share. I've interviewed so far 2 candidates that are running for 6th district.
Okay, yes.
And both of them
it's a congressional.
Yeah, this is for the
district.
but the redistricting of District 6 is being hotly discussed
Yes,
in Tallahassee
currently.
now.
Yes.
We've started an election. They have been getting petitions. They have paid their money. They're moving forward, and yet none of them can get any answers from the state as to the impact of the redistricting. Are your petitions gonna count in the middle of an election?
And that's purposeful, okay? There's a reason behind that. As you may not know, or as you know, that two sessions ago was a huge bill that came forward called elections. It was about 92 pages long, and it covered everything from soup to nuts, okay? Everything. As to what you can do, what you can't do, what your voting rights are, what changes, the impact that it has on for the state supervisors of elections. There are changes that they also have to go through. So it was big, and it moved quickly. And we're still seeing the impact. So the redistricting is only part of that.
Right.
It's only part of that, and there's more to come.
Don't worry. And I've
Don't worry.
I've
there's
reached
more
out
to
to Katie Linhart
Linhart,
to have her come and speak, because talking about someone that's trying to keep all their fingers in the holes of everything. Things are happening quicker, lawsuits are happening, and whatever. But I think it's important, and part of the reason that I've been trying to get you on is to build that understanding, that connection between you, a retired citizen of Palm Coast or Flagler County, and how much the state of Florida is driving toward taking those authorities of your local elected officials and removing their power at all. I'll give you a great example. Palm Coast, just in the last session, spent many, many, many hours and our money talking about short-term rentals to set policy. Now, our governor at the last minute vetoed a state short-term rental program, but it's going to come up again this session because the state feels they can serve, these are my words, they can serve the citizens better than our local elected officials. And all of our local officials are on the record stating their concerns of the loss of home rule. So today, that we need to understand as a citizen here in Palm Coast what our actions are, what are the things that we can do, you've touched on, and even just how to get information. When you and I were talking before, I'm in the process of reading the state constitution. Oh my God. Because I realized it's an important document if you live in the state of Florida. And it talks about things like education and other rights and stuff that's been slowly manipulated. But it took me a while to even find the document before I could even start reading it. So how do we get empowered?
So let me begin by when you walk into Tallahassee, into the capital, where all of the magic, I'm not going to say that's the wrong word, all of the actions occur, in the rotunda, if you look up, you'll see the preamble to the Florida Constitution. And when you look at that, you can say, for the first line, let's say, everyone deserves healthy, health. And you could say, okay, maybe. Then you go on to your civil rights, maybe. And it goes through all of that, and it's hard for you to find something positive in that preamble because the mindset, and I don't know if I should say this, has changed so dramatically that no longer is the vision that we should have. And there are legislators that do believe in that, but they're not as many, unfortunately. And I read to you how many that we are up against.
Sure.
So the thing that I would do, so I don't know, can I just give a little bit of how I
Absolutely.
got started? Because I think that's one of the main examples.
We're here to help people understand and empower themselves, so go for it.
Right. So when I first moved here, in my mailbox, I received a card, and I should have brought that, a postcard from the Democratic Women's Club of Flagler County. And I was like, what? there's like-minded people here? What? And I wasted no time. I made it to the first meeting. And at that first meeting, they were talking about, all the things that are happening within the county and things that we need to look forward to. And then towards the end, they said, well, we have a couple of vacancies that we would like to fill. And one of those vacancies was to become a legislative liaison. And I said, on my job back at NIH, I was doing legislative policy.
Right.
So that sort of fit in to what I wanted to do. And I said, okay, let me take a look at this and see how this works. And I was tutored, I don't know if many people know, by Myra Smith. She did a fabulous job in getting my feet wet. And let me tell you, it was intimidating at first. It was very intimidating. But eventually I was able, from the information that she mentored me with, was able to break through that intimidation. And there were many days, and I tell no tale, that my husband would come into my office and see me banging my head against the desk because I couldn't believe the things that were happening that were going to impact Floridians in this state. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So that then moved me to say, I need to learn more. I want to learn more. I want to know how this process works. I want to know how to make my voice heard. So from that, I tried developing from Flagler County a legislative team, which we did get off the ground. And then from that happened, apparently what I was doing, because I was also doing presentations around the county, that someone reached out to the state president and said, I know someone that I think should fill the position because they had just recently lost the state chair. And so she contacted me and asked me, and I was like, no. I said no.
Sounds like work, huh?
It did.
I know that. You got to know when to say no.
I know, right? And normally I don't say no. But in this instance, I said no.
Now, this is through the Democratic
Women's
side. Right.
Club for the state of Florida.
Gotcha.
Right? And so she said, okay, I'll get you a co-chair and you could work together. And that's how I got started. And what I had at that point was maybe 20 members, that were on what we call the Bill Tracking Review Committee. So we sit and review all the bills that are relative to, and I'll get into that, to the clubs in the state that they feel is most relevant. So from that, I can tell you that now, because of the advocacy of what I called my advocates, as well as other liaisons, as well as presidents in these clubs, our membership has grown to over 120 members. And that's how we get the word out. That's number one. So,
well, and it also sends a message to the Republicans that there is a group
yes,
that is participating, whether it be media, private. I mean, just the fact that city council sees me sitting in the chair watching them, they realize I'm paying attention and that I'm going to walk up. It's hard to do. A lot of people struggle to participate. So with that larger group,
yes,
you get a hold of the bills.
yes.
Or at what level?
So we have in the Democratic Women's Club for the state of Florida, we have over 64 clubs. Our membership is about 4,100 plus. And what I did was I charged every single president that they have to have. I would like not have to. Sorry, I'm going to correct that.
Recommend.
But I would highly recommend having at least one in their club be a legislative liaison. And we do trainings. Mm-hmm. We do training videos. We've established ourselves, and I have a fabulous team. I have a leadership team that is fabulous working with me because they too see the larger vision. It's not about me. It's not about Yvette. It's about what we can do for everyone in our state. And it doesn't matter what your background is, and it doesn't matter your political affiliation either, because guess what? If your rent is high, my rent is high, it has nothing to do what party we're affiliated with.
Right.
So it's trying to get individuals to see what benefit that they do. So the process is when the bill tracking committee starts, each of those clubs that are within that committee there I request that each club provides at least 2 or 3 priorities that they want. So for Flagler County, I know it's women, children, families. I also know it's education. I also know it's voting. But if you go to another area, I'm going to use the Panhandle for example, they're looking at environment. They're also looking at voting, and they're looking at maybe something else that's affecting seniors, right? Over there. And on the southernmost state, their first thing is environment and then economy. So we bring those together, and I have 12 topics, 12 categories that we review. And so it covers the whole gambit, and we're like the only organization that does that. No one
Thank
else
goodness.
does that. And the response is that I have what are called subject matter experts, and they're the ones that go into the website. They watch the Florida channel because that's where you can actually hear the hearings and watch sometimes. We also have the ability to look at the bills. You can pull the bills off of their websites, the state and the Senate websites. You can pull those off and you can look at it, but there's a way to look at them. If you read them off the surface, there was one, I was like, yay, this sounds really good, until you get to the bottom. Then you find out, oh no, this is not what we want, right? So then we will say we oppose. The challenge I try to avoid is to make it as palatable for everyone, because you have so many people with different skills, learning skills, speaking skills, comprehension skills, different things and tools that they need to have. So I want to ensure that all of those are covered. And yes, I know it's like Pollyanna, I understand that, but at least I have to try. My team, we try for that. We do so many things. That's why one of the reasons we do videos, because then we can send them to you and you can look at them as often as you need to, so that you can get a better understanding of the processes that we have to go through.
So you get, so I guess from the citizen to the information you have, to communicating to our elected body in Tallahassee, 99% of the bills that go through are all decided on the House floor and
the Senate floor.
And the Senate floor,
Yes.
and then approved by the governor with
the Secretary of State.
Yeah. And then he'll veto the ones that are.
Right.
But at no time is the citizen allowed to do anything more than contact, email, write, share, and you guys are more of an organizational group to get people focused on what really matters with a lot of the bills and why.
So one of the processes that we put in place, and we call this Blue Alerts, and the Blue Alerts go out to the entire membership. And that Blue Alert is something that we, as well as some of the other legislators, may say, this is a concerning bill, we need support, or we need you to oppose this bill. And we blast that out. And on there is instructions. If you want to write an email, we give you a blurb for the email. If you want to call, we give you a blurb for calling. We also give you the committees, if there's a committee that's hearing this bill, or whoever created the bill, submitted the bill, we give you that information as well.
And you're giving that information to the members of
the Democratic Women's Club,
which is, you said, around 4,000 to 5,000 members at any one time.
4,000, yes.
4,000 members. Is it possible to share that Blue Alert, which I think is phenomenal,
For Flagler County, it's called hot flashes.
Well,
Okay.
well, and that, but the research and the information and the acknowledgement of action
Yes.
needs to reach beyond the women's clubs.
Absolutely.
Is there a mechanism? Do you reach out to the sitting Democratic members? Do they get a notice? Because I'm finding, I heard Representative Leaks was saying publicly, well, I didn't really review the education stipend law as well as I should have. There were a lot of mistakes, which is why they've got a new one coming through that's got, 250 pages or something to fix the voucher system. The point was, he admitted, and I think it's pretty common, that a lot of our representatives, you said, how many bills? 400 possible bills, or
So what was submitted at the end of last session, 2025, was 1,900 and about 36, right?
Right.
Which is huge. But what the governor signed off on was about 280, give or take.
Right.
Right? So that's a lot of work. Almost 2,000 all the way down to.
Oh, you mean for our elected officials to read it all?
Yes,
but you
to go through it.
are helping. You are focusing down and looking at it. Do you send those alerts to our Democratic representatives?
So the process, not to our. Some of them see it.
Okay.
I don't know the processes and how they see it, but I do know that they see it.
You want them to see it, right? When you
Right,
want them to...
Because there has to be a buffer, in my mind, there needs to be a buffer between what I do and what they do. I don't want to dictate to...
Well, you're just interesting.
But
this is coming from, I think, your professional days of living in the eggshell of the world that you were in.
Oh, yes.
With providing technical data on healthcare in a political, which we see every day. And it has gotten so much worse.
And that's important.
And that's got to drive. So you feel that though you have all this abundance of information or concerns through the view of many, 100 and some people, that you can provide that information if asked to our representative?
Yes, that's
that
part of it.
That would be part of the buffer?
That would be part of the buffer. The other part of it is we have platforms.
Yeah.
Everyone has social media in some form or another. If you're not on Facebook, you have TikTok. I don't do Twitter, but people do Twitter. You can put it on Twitter, and you can put it on whatever Threads, whatever social media platforms that you use, people will get it out there. And so we're looking at ensuring that we follow that whole plethora, because I'm telling you, one of the things that...
She used my word. That's one of my favorite words.
Really?
My wife hates it when I say that.
Oh,
but it's just such a power.
It is.
It sends a great message.
So the challenge is that when, not everybody does that. Not everybody, listens to those things. But reaching out to the legislators, it's a two-way street. They have to buffer what they're sending out sometimes for us to pick up, and we buffer what we're sending out to make sure that it's correct in the message that they want to hear.
Right.
And that also comes into relationship building, right? So it's important not only for me to build relationships with the presidents of all of our clubs, but I also build relationships with our local clubs so that they are also included in this and they know what to look for. Sometimes when I give a talk, sometimes it's for a specific topic. Like one was, they just approved a budget. How much does it impact Flagler County? And that was an interesting one because guess what? We are blessed. with the monies that we have gotten in
compared to the other
compared
counties.
to other
But
counties.
overall, the numbers
Overall,
were.
no,
It was
it's little, minuscule,
Right.
basically. But if you consider how our county is considered small, so considering how small our county is compared to the number of dollars that have been directed our way, that's impressive.
But I'm thinking, for me personally, how do I, as a citizen who have a more liberal democratic view of what I think needs to occur, and how can I affect or get that across to our state elected officials that have a super majority when most of the decisions that they make over this next session are going to be done after their election. They've all been elected, they're in there, they're doing their thing. And in talking to representatives that I believe Representative Gecko's up for re-election. One of the two's up for re-election. And if somebody's running against them, they need to know what their voting record was. They need to know how to inform us, the voting people, of the pros and cons. And I find, Yvette, that not a lot of people understand it, and less even get mobilized. But boy, they sure feel it when their tax dollars is going to school kids that are using public school but have been given thousands of dollars, which we know the superintendent publicly admitted. We have hundreds of students that have received voucher money and are going to public school, and we have no mechanism to recoup that money. So
They've gone to private school.
Well, they went to private school and then they got
and then
kicked
they come
out
back and
or
they
whatever.
Don't get, the money does not travel with the
Exactly.
child. The money does not travel with the child.
And so I guess in my mind, the efforts and the amazing things you guys are doing needs to get to the voters so that we can make better choices during the election cycle.
Yes.
And that's the struggle, right? That's the hard part.
I agree with you. The challenge that I have, and I will tell everybody, I am like the canary in the cave, right? And people have choices. You can hear me calling out, or my liaisons calling out, or you can go right ahead into the cave and see what happens, what that outcome is. So I know that there's a lot more. We have to do a better job of communicating what the needs are. That's number one. Because if you look at how across the aisle does it, they have humongous platforms. Whereas on my side, they're very little. They're very hit and miss. They're far and in between. We have to be able to develop and feel comfortable in using those platforms to get whatever the concerns are. Whatever, if you like something, people need to know that as well. And that's a huge, huge undertaking.
Right.
Huge undertaking. So I appreciate what you're doing with the podcast because you're reaching individuals. Now, could you imagine if we had 100 more of you throughout the state? What would that look like? What would that look like? And that's the ultimate goal.
Right.
The other part of it is don't think just because it's the Democratic Women's Club of whatever your county is, men can't join. Men can join. They can join. They can participate. They may not be able to get a leadership role like on the board or something. No, that's not true because they do. I'm sorry, I take that back. But a male's voice is just as strong as the woman's voice. Maybe the woman's a little bit stronger, but
it's so in my world. And rightfully so. And it's good, but that's the trick, right? That's the challenge I'm running into, and it's like that old adage about the horse, right? I can get you right there to the trough, but you've got to drink the water.
You
And
do.
how we motivate people to realize that actions are happening around us and they're not getting this disinformation and misinformation and the challenge of, I call it democratic delusion, which is we just so watered down. There's so many different things we don't get focused in. What you're doing is a huge tool
Well,
that helps to,
I'm going to say that one of the biggest challenges is that people trust some of the things that you know to be real. If you go and look at those bills, trust me, you know that this is real because guess what? It's affecting you. And I want to use one example.
please.
Remember
definitely.
this year, I think it was this year. See, I'm already thinking 2026. This year, when our governor decided to get 20 sites to make them into golf courses, paddleball courses, hotels, recreation centers, and there was such a groundswell of every single citizen. It didn't matter what party you belonged to, that he had to rescind that. That's our power. That is our power. And to be able to have someone such as the governor say, oh, you know, it was a mistake. I didn't mean to take all of them. There's still 2 that he's holding on to, but still, out of 18 or 20, the people rose up and said no. Said no. We can do the same thing. Pick your favorite topic. If it's education, and there are so many levels in education that you can look at, whether it's Head Start, which they're trying to get rid of for decades, they've been trying to get rid of Head Start, or if it's middle school or high school or post, high school, all of that counts in education. All of that counts. The laws, for instance, I want to be able to decide what bathroom I want to go to. Easy. I want to decide. But yet, that isn't what's coming down anymore. The state will decide what bathroom you could go to, right? So those are just a couple of examples of where we have the power. Again, I'm going to go back to vote. Just vote. The other part of it, if I wanted to just mention that I call this what's in the power of your hand. You have so much power here. There are a number of websites and applications that you can use to be able to, one that I like is Digital Democracy Project. On that platform, you get to vote on the bills that are now can be, yes,
Wow.
the congressional or the state bills, just for Florida. And they will give you a tally as to how many people voted, whether it was a yes, no,
So like a
or
polling
abstain.
of the-
Yes, a polling.
Wow.
And it also shows how the legislators voted. So you
Right.
get to see how you vote and how they vote. And that should that should make you aware of what it is that they're doing for your benefit or not.
Yeah,
Or not.
it's important, and I'm a big proponent, and I am always reminding you of successes of how small people have organized and made changes
Yes.
locally. For example, you guys remember the fuel farm out on 100 that they were going to build and put like 3 million gallons of diesel and all that, and the citizens rose up
That's
and
right.
said, "This is not what we want."
And was that across party lines? It was not.
Absolutely.
It was, I mean,
Yeah, it was
it
everybody.
was not, yeah, it wasn't partisan. It was everybody. And that's how we need to start looking at what's happening in our capital. When the legislators come together, it has to be for the benefit of Floridians, the benefit, as well as our lands. I mean, one that really had us going was the taking of bears, right? And that's a whole nother, I want you to look up that bill, the taking of bears. And I guess one of the other apps that is my favorite is called Perplexity. Perplexity. You can ask it, can you give me a summary of this bill, HB, for Florida, HB, which is House Bill, I'll just use a number, HB5, and provide that 2-sentence summary, and also give me the pros and the cons. And in moments, it'll print out a report for you so that you can see in your hand whether you want to vote for this or not vote for this. And that's the important. You have choice, and you should have choice in this path that we are taking to understand how our bills and our laws affect each one of us.
Absolutely. And part of the reason, and you guys know, I'm very involved at the local level. It's important because I feel that's where you have the loudest voice. You can participate and you can actually have FaceTime and speak with your representative, which progressively gets harder the higher you go.
Yes.
But
it
I'm
does.
also finding that the state, in its home rule goals, feel that they can serve the state, including all of us, all the way down to Palm Coast, better. And I'll give you an example. Palm Coast just expended thousands of dollars to have an e-bike ordinance to try to make people aware and safe. What's the first thing on the agenda in Tallahassee? An e-bike ordinance which will supersede and wipe away whatever we've done. But you can speak to your local representatives, but it's mighty hard unless you can partner with Yvette and groups like that to understand the value of we cannot take for granted the state efforts and understand who we're voting for, what their record was, trying to find candidates
Oh, yes.
to run. And that's the other challenge, to try to find. I think Adam Morley has ran as many times as he's going to run. God bless him. He tried it for many times
He
to
did.
get voices to sit there to speak for your concerns. Because if we don't have them, what happens? We don't have a voice.
We don't have a voice. And that's the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate goal, so that the people do not speak. And that's the sad part of this. There's bills coming up that are looking to changing the Constitution, the Florida Constitution in a way. And I don't know how that benefits us. Well, I do know how it doesn't benefit us, but there isn't any benefit to having to lose your voting rights. It just boggles my mind that we've allowed this to happen, you know. So the other thing is, it's important not to be afraid. It's scary, but don't be afraid. Because guess what? You have individuals. There are other groups that are trying to get the word out. Not just mine, the Democratic Women's Club of Flagler County, but you have the Palm Coast Democratic Club. You have the Flagler Beach Club as well. So if you ever find the time, find out what their schedule is. We also have a Democratic office here, which is very fortunate. Not everybody has that.
Yeah.
So you could go in and get information, get all the like-minded organizations that are here in Flagler County and visit them. You don't have to become a member right away. Just go and hear what they're proposing, what they're talking about, what the issue is, and determine whether you'll be the right fit or not. It's for me, I sincerely hope that if you get nothing else out of this discussion that we're having, is that the vote is imperative. Learning about your government, local, I'll start with local, the local government as well as the state government. Learn more about that. And then if you really have that urgency, congressional.
Well, and I agree with you that it starts in your backyard.
It does.
And then
really
it
does.
grows to your neighborhood.
Right.
And then it goes to the city you live in. And
in the county.
Exactly, in the county. But your power exponentially drops the larger the bucket you scream into.
Right.
Yeah, you know what that feels like. And so
I do.
it's important, and you guys have heard me say this. And a very smart woman asked me recently, what caused me to do this? Because I had to do something.
Was that me?
That was you. Yes, ma'am, it was. And it's important that we all have a little space, a little time to care about this country and what's happening. You can listen to it 24/7 on the news, go brain dead, and just give up. That's not what we want you to do. Mm-mm. We want you to reach out. You don't have to show up at these meetings. You can go online and you can see all the things that are going on. As a precinct captain, I knock on doors all the time. Yes, most of them are Democratic doors at this point. And every single time I hear, I'm not the only one.
Right.
Your neighbors feel the same way that you do. I guarantee it. And most of them, it's nonpartisan, as we've talked about today. Most of the things that are coming out of Tallahassee, in general, are nonpartisan. Vouchers for education of students that want to do alternative school. That's not a partisan decision. The control over it, the approval over it is. And so you need to be educated. And that's why I do this. And that's why I wanted to bring you on today.
Thank you.
And to continue, because, oh my God, this next 5 months of this session just in the state.
I keep saying each session that I do, this is a bad one. But 2026, I can't even let you know how tense, I'll say tense.
Well, they're going to try to get everything on their bucket list done, because I believe in hearing and talking to some of the people I'm in contact with, they expect that there will be some seats that flip in the midterm elections, because what typically happens at the national level, at the state level, even at the local level, tend to stabilize when you are in a booth and you have your ballot in front of you and you're making decisions. Maybe it's, I don't like the way things are, so I want to change. Right. So you're going to go with this guy over this guy. And so the feeling that I'm getting, and you can confirm or deny because you live and breathe this, is we're going to see a huge possible push of getting things done through the supermajority. And that's just not at the state level. I think we're going to see that at the national level as well.
And that's very intentional. That is very intentional. The reason in my mind, and this is my own opinion, the reason in my mind is that some people like what they're getting, and it doesn't matter what happens to the other person. And when you have that frame of mind, the other persons are the ones that suffer. And
Yes.
guess what? Children suffer even more so. Seniors suffer even more so. So it's imperative. It's imperative to understand what you do. And I just want to give one last example. I know I have a
Absolutely.
lot of examples here.
Yeah.
When I do a presentation, I show an iceberg. And I have brackets saying at the very top, this is what you see. And that's the stuff that you may hear on the media, that you may come across in a newspaper. I know that's media, but in the newspaper. And then you have that huge iceberg underneath the water where you don't see, but you know it's there, but you just don't see it. My role and my liaison's roles are we want to bring that table line down so you get to see more and more of what that iceberg looks like. And eventually, and I know this is a dream of mine, to absolutely have it be, I don't know, on some beach somewhere and you can look at the whole thing.
Transparency
Transparency.
is something that's lost.
Absolutely. That's a great word. That's a word. Transparency.
Yeah, it's
And once we do that, it won't be a mystery. It won't be frightening. It won't be overwhelming. It won't be any of those negative thoughts that we have when we're stepping into something new, right? Something new is intimidating sometimes. We, the people, are the force in our government.
and that's what we have to take back.
Yes.
And I love and we'll close with January 1, 2026. Do something new.
Yes.
Reach out to a club. Find your local neighbors that are like-minded like you. Figure out how to be a better voter. We need you to vote. We need you to show up. We need you to get there. But we also need you to be informed. We need you to understand the reason why you're liking this person over there. And it takes effort. It's not going to knock on your door and somebody hands you the information you need. It'll take volunteers, people with passion like Yvette and others that are working so hard, that are trying to let you know where to get information, because information is powerful. And I hate to tell you this, the other side doesn't want you to be informed. They don't want you to be educated. They just want you to trust us. Did you know in the last election, here locally, the REC sent out a one-page document with a list of the 12 candidates with a note on the top said, you need to vote for these people. Not why.
What's the REC?
The
Not everybody
Republican
knows.
Committee. It's the Flagler County Republican Council Executive Committee here.
Right.
It was very simple. They sent it out to all their registered Republicans and said, these are the people you need to vote for. There wasn't why. There was an explanation. It wasn't the value. They were being told who to vote for.
Right.
You'll never get that from the Democrats. We want you to be informed. We want you to understand the reasons why this person has your morals or views. So, with that?
Yeah. The one thing, I know I have a lot of one things, but
Oh, we could do this. We always.
the one thing I would like for you to do is if you have a topic that you want to learn about, the sessions that are going on in Tallahassee are recorded. Go to the Florida channel, just all together is one word, Florida channel.
Is that on YouTube or online?
No, this is their own channel.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Their
good.
own channel. The FloridaChannel.org, right? .org. And you'll see a home page, a landing page, and you can look for archive and say you want to know about what the discussions were on, I don't know. One of my favorites is alimony. Look at that one.
Oh yeah, that got
Yeah,
that got completely changed
It did.
recently.
So if you look at that one on the channel, then you can see the thought process in the discussions that were being had. And that way, you'll be able to see how much influence goes one or the other, one way or the other way. So, but thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you too for coming, and we will
Yes.
have you back anytime you want to come back as things become.
Just so that you know, I stand on a soapbox all the time. So,
Trust me,
Yes.
I know how that is.
Yeah.
So guys, a lot of homework for you today. But it's very important. Over the holidays, take a break from all this, step back, turn on your Christmas music, enjoy your food. My wife's got like 6 different Christmas movies we're going to be
Right,
watching.
right.
It's good to take a break. But when you come back down to earth, you land January 1, we all need to be running towards help, finding information. Research and discover and ask questions. Participate locally. Come to the city meetings. Go to the county meetings. Just sit there and watch the whole process. You'll be amazed and you will be empowered by it. So guys, thanks so much. Remember to like, subscribe. We'll be putting some of the information and contact information out so that you can reach all the stuff that Yvette's doing for us. Stay safe and
yes.
enjoy the holidays. Thanks a lot, guys.